G'day guys, Aaron here from Shooting Stuff Australia, and I am joined with Jason from AHP and down in Sydney. Before we start, if you guys could just hit the subscribe button and smash that like button and thumbs up, and take a look at all the links down below for Jason's and mine podcast. Well, for Jason's podcast and mine.
Are you running competition now, are you bastard?
yeah, well, Jason's podcast. All our different social media stuff, Facebook and Instagram, all that, it's all down below. Go and sign up to those as well. We'd really appreciate it. And we're both on Patreon. If you do enjoy this sort of content, take a look at our Patreons. So what has happened in the last few days? Some very sad news. An elderly couple was bashed and the husband was actually killed later on in hospital. He died. So it's an 86-year-old guy. He was at home. Well, the couple were at home, probably asleep at 12:30 in the morning, and two guys broke in and attacked the female first. The wife started bashing her. The husband stepped in to defend his wife and was beaten so badly he later on died. So this couple had been married for 60 years and in that home for 30 years, just minding their own business, well, more than likely at that time of night being asleep, and these pieces of human garbage came in and did this. Very, very sad and not good at all. So I've always been a big advocate for self-defense. I think it's one of our very basic, or the most basic human right that everyone on this planet has, to defend their life, defend their property, and defend their family. And once again, it's failed because this couple obviously had no way of defending themselves. The guy had no way of defending his wife whatsoever. And I've spoken to victims of crime of things like this before, and they all end up saying, only if we were allowed a shotgun in the house, I could have, a lot of this could have been prevented. So what are your views, Jace?
Just look at the photo here of the couple, like on the, I think it's a 9news.com.au article. And cowardly, gutless attack, a Sydney couple killed in their home, married for 60 years. I mean, this is the way, poor bastards have got to go out. It says two men allegedly forced their way into the house, which you said in Brook in Sydney's west, threatened the couple before assaulting him. The couple, 86-year-old Colin Saliba, and his wife, Josephine, and he was found with police by serious head injuries just before 12:30 a.m. I mean, I've been speaking about this for God knows how long, probably maybe 8-9 years since I've been probably started the podcast. Maybe, after a year or so, it became more prevalent. This is what we just keep seeing, our elderly senior citizens that have got no form of self-defense, none absolutely whatsoever, just getting their heads caved in by these fuckers, you said human garbage, these people. For what reason? For no reason at all. I mean, ruining lives and ruining families. And again, police have all types of guns. They've got everything. But the average person like me and you needs to be defenseless. We have no hope of ever getting anything. And as you said too, there was I think I've just got it here, was from the Superintendent Boyd, said to attack a defenseless elderly people in their own home is cowardly and gutless, a cowardly and gutless attack. But then under the law, it says the protection of yourself or another person is not considered a genuine reason for the possession and use of firearms for self-defense. But again, this is what keeps happening. Honestly, the police, and you're seeing all the articles because I know you're posting them, I'm posting them. Victorian police, they want they were semi-automatic and fully automatic firearms to fight crime and terrorism and all this crap. While the average person like me and you, have absolutely no to self-defense. And while this may rub people the wrong way, I think we should honestly, at least until the average citizen gets self-defense like me and you, I think we should go like New Zealand and like the UK. And I don't think police should carry firearms. I just think they're not trained to have and use firearms compared to people in the shooting community. People like yourself, Aaron, who have to, shoot pistols, 8, 10, 12 times per year, whatever the legislation. And you shoot a lot more than that. You're probably shooting maybe 20 times a year. You're probably more proficient with a pistol than a lot of these people. So we should go down the New Zealand route, which is, the general rank and file of police officers don't carry any firearms. Now, I know some people might look at that and say, well, that's not the way forward. But, I mean, why should they be able to defend themselves when the average people like me and you, like Mr. Saliba, who just had his head caved in by some fucking little shit, or whoever it was, some career criminal. We don't know who it is yet. I don't even think they've even caught the person. So it's just a very, very sad state of affairs. And English police don't carry firearms. They need to call in their special unit teams, same as New Zealand. A lot of European countries can't carry firearms either. I just don't see a need. Like they don't see a need for me to defend themselves. I don't think they need firearms either. So if we're going to go down that route, I think if they should have firearms, we should be able to defend ourselves too. I'm not telling anyone to break the law. The law is you can't use them for self-defense. So we need to respect the law until at a time we can actually change it. But I think maybe unpopular to say that, but at the end of the day, mate, if they can carry firearms, I think the average person should carry firearms too.
Totally, I agree 100%. And that quote that you said was from a superintendent. And see, that's what really pisses me off. Every time something like this happens, the police come out and say gutless, cowardly, oh, it shouldn't happen, and all this stuff. Well, how about the cops actually pull their heads in and think with some form of common sense, okay, how can we stop this sort of stuff? People need to be able to defend themselves easily. They do say, well, if they got a knife, you can have a knife. But that's beside the point. It should be easy access to be able to defend yourself, not have to have your gun locked away while you sleep. You should be able to have it out next to your bed. There's no point being in a safe unloaded with no bolt in it while someone's kicking down your door, and you've only got a matter of seconds to react to save your elderly wife. That's what really pisses me off. They should just start looking at it and go, right, these criminals aren't going to go away. Gun crime is getting worse and worse in this country since John Howard's absolute failure of his gun laws. It's actually getting worse, not getting better. And that's what just pisses. That's what I'm sorry I get emotional about it, but that's just what pisses me off. They all quick to say it's gutless and that, but they don't want to come out and say how they could fix it. They know if a little old granny was sitting there with a 12 gauge and two thugs came in, man, there'd be two less thugs, and there'd be a little old granny still alive, being able to go on with her life.
I mean, what's better, mate? What's better? George Saliba, probably a law-abiding 86-year-old man, dead, or a pack of thugs. I'd say the pack of thugs would be better off dead, in my opinion.
Yep.
I mean, these people, like when he says above here, I'm just reading it now, to attack a defenseless elderly people in their own home is cowardly, gutless. Again, this is all just words from the government. This is not going to, him standing up on a podium in front of a microphone saying this does not solve the problem, doesn't help anyone, doesn't keep anyone safe, and it's just, wishy-washy crap and waffle, in my opinion. We've got to give people the actual means. Now, in New South Wales, the law was changed by John Tingle many years ago, from the original shooters and fishers when he started the party. So the onus is on police that at the time, if you happen to kill someone in self-defense, that the onus is on the government to prove at the time that you were of sound or not sound thinking, you know what I mean? So, but they can't, there's no way for anyone to prove that at the time you didn't think you were under threat. So that was a huge change to the law and was actually a really good thing. But on the flip side, they don't give you an actual means of self-defense. So, batons, tasers, actually any implement in New South Wales.
Taser.
Yeah, in New South Wales, any implement used or carried for self-defense is illegal. So whether that's a bat, whether that's a bit of metal rod, if it's used for the purpose of self-defense, I mean, it's illegal. But again, all we see is every week and month, the police and the police unions pushing for police to have more and more semi-automatic and fully automatic weapons. I mean, to militarize the police. So, mate, I say take the guns off them until at such stage, the average people like me and you are able to defend themselves. And let's see how they stand up to crime like the average individual. And people say, well, they're probably just, they're doing their job. They need the tools. Well, we've seen what happens with that, mate. We saw the Hornsby shooting where the guy was right in front of him and she ended up shooting two old ladies. We saw what happened at the Link Cafe siege. But, it's always a ricochet, apparently. I mean, this stuff's ridiculous. These people shot. They were hit by debris or hit by the bullets themselves. Either way, bullets didn't reach the target. They hit unintended targets, which were elderly ladies. I mean, this is the third or fourth time this has happened just over the last 5 years.
Oh, what about the poor bugger at the Swingers Club, gunned down by SWAT in the back, and had something like 8 or 9 surgeries to reconstruct his insides.
Yeah.
And it was over went to a swingers club, not judging anyone, but went to a swingers club in like a fancy dress thing. He had a toy gun, a plastic gun, not even a gel blaster, and his ex was apparently there, phoned the cops saying he's got a gun. But when he went into the club, the bouncers looked at it and said, "This is just a piece of molded plastic. It's not a gun at all. It's all good." They told the police, from everything I read, they told the police there when they got there, no, it's just a bit of molded plastic toy gun that your kids can buy. Said it's not even a gun. It's all good. You don't need to be here. Well, SWAT went in and gunned him down through the back and shot his girlfriend through the leg. So I think the payout was the largest payout in history for something like this happening in Victoria.
Can you imagine, you're at a swingers party, like fair enough, you're with your girlfriend. Apparently he was in the process of getting a BJ, which, hey, BJs are good, man. Ain't no one complaining about them. And then in the process, you get shot multiple times and you have to have, he's 8
Lucky
million.
to be alive.
You're so lucky.
To be alive.
He's lucky to be alive, man. These guys that come in, very itchy trigger fingers to wanting to. I'm the best. I'm a police officer. You listen to me. Very itchy on the trigger finger, and mate shoots a guy copping a BJ from his missus. Like really.
What's worse is the reports I read, the stories said he was shot through the back. That's even worse again.
Now he's not dead. He's just beyond me.
Or paralysed. Jeez, can't believe it.
This is what we keep dealing with, mate, and it's just people might disagree on the police carrying guns, but I just don't think there's a need for them until at such stage that we get the same benefit too.
Definitely. And this is another thing that this has always pissed me off. I'm just reading the comments and people going, well, we need self-defense. You see in a lot of comments on different subjects along this line. Well, if you want guns for self-defense, move to America. Hey, I would love to move to America. I'd love us to be like America. I would love it that I was allowed to have a gun to defend myself. I could carry a gun, concealed carry in public, and help my fellow human beings out if there's something bad that goes down. I would love that. Yeah, definitely. I would love to move to America and to be able to have some form of freedom like that. And I think we should have freedoms along those lines as well. If you don't like it, why don't you fuck off to North Korea or China? They can't have guns. They can't have any form of self-defense. So you'll be right at home. Defensists with the communists. That's all you fucking are in my eyes. So that's one of the biggest, dumbest things I've ever hear every time is, we don't want to be like America. And when shooters say that, even worse, it's just like, they've just gone full retard. Yeah. Shooters saying it, we don't want American-style gun laws. Yes, we fucking do. We do. We want that. We want the right to defend ourselves. We want to be able to take care of ourselves.
What's funny?
When time comes, the police are about 15 minutes average call time. I think Bob Catter said that, about 15 minutes average call time. You ain't got 15 minutes when there's two humongous thugs running down your hallway with a baseball bat coming to cave your head in, do you?
And some people say, in so many, percentage of instances, if someone's got something for self-defense, it's that same implement is used against them. I'm like, okay, so what's the morally superior position from the police and government? Unarmed and helpless because the item that I'm using for self-defense may be used against me. Yeah, sorry, I just don't believe that. I mean, you saw there was one probably a year and a half ago where the young guy, remember a couple of those thugs were chasing that young woman down the street, and then she went up, she was knocking on doors, and some young fella, he was only about 19 or 21, he let her in. They came knocking on the door, they thought she was in there, they're busting in, and poor young guy, I think he stabbed one of them and another one of them survived, but one succumbed in the street to his injuries. That poor guy's got to just sort of live with that for the rest of his life, but at least he had, and eventually got off. But all the things he's got to go through, and they start, instead of going after the criminals, they start going after the innocent people. This guy's minding his own business. He's
19 years old at home by himself, and he actually turned the lights out to hide, and they were choking him to death. They were choking him to death, and he just managed to feel a knife on the kitchen bench, from what I read, and he just blindly just swung it around, and it managed to get two of them, and they let go because he would have been dead. They're hyped up on drugs and alcohol, and wasn't one of them son of some NRL football player?
I'm not sure. I just
Yeah, I
remember,
think they were.
and I did an interview. You probably remember a couple of years ago, probably 4 years ago, with Don Brook. He was a guy
Yeah.
that I contacted about, and this went on for a long time. He had the same thing. Someone broke into his home. He came down the hallway, not realizing somebody was in his lounge room. This guy's went to get him with a taser. He had a pocket knife on him, so he stabbed the guy. And then, they've ran outside. He's called the guy back to help the guy because he stabbed him, just trying to, get the guy help. He said he was going to and come back and kill him when he could. Unfortunately, it was good, I say. He succumbed to his mate that was in the car waiting, took him to the hospital, dumped him off at the hospital, like what a top mate he is, drove off, and the guy later died anyway. I mean, it took 3 years, for Don Brook to find out whether he was going to be charged or not. And the things they do and say to him, I mean, treated like criminals. And if I just have a look at it here while you're talking, I'll have a look at which episode it was. I think people will like that. 127 AHP, hashtag 100, episode 127, a self-defense story with Don Brook. I recommend people get that and have a listen to it. And he was actually at my home, really nice guy. And, again, treated like shit by the government, lawyers and the Crown and the DPP. Public prosecutions and stuff, and 3 years before they realise whether they're going to charge a guy for self-defense. Unbelievable. And I hope it never happens. But for people to understand about self-defense, it needs to happen to ones that are against it. Wait until it happens to you, because your tune will change. And you'll be pro self-defense, or your family. And when and I hate to say it, because sometimes this needs, I wish it was happening to some politicians, because then they can understand what the average folk actually go through, that you've actually got no way of defending yourself. And, you hate to say it to mates that you wish it happened to them because of their stupid stance on certain things. But, sometimes that's what's required. They wake up to themselves to realize, what's actually happening in the community. But anyway, that's about it.
Exactly. What's worse is the legal firearms owners so anti-self-defense. Now, these guys are gun owners. They know how safe they can be. They know that you can be trained quite well and proficient in these firearms, but yet they are so staunch, no self-defense whatsoever. That's probably some of the worst. People who have been around guns their whole life and still think that they're the worst of the worst.
We just say follow the law as it is until at such time we can change. We don't want people out there breaking the law and stuff like that. It's not what we're about. But we wish the government would change. But I reckon the best process in the meantime is to disarm the police. Quicker we can do that, then the better off we'll be, and they'll start realising what the issues the average citizen has.
Well, why do they need semi-auto AR-15s that they're buying right now if the gun laws are working so well? They keep telling us they work so well, and this is another thing. You got to be, for self-defense in your home, feel threatened. Or if they have a knife of a certain size, you can have a knife of a certain size. If they have a baseball bat, you can use a baseball bat. But for fuck's sake, in the heat of the moment, that shit doesn't work. But all we hear is one punch kills. Remember the big advertising crap years ago? One punch kills. Well, one fist can kill you. So why do they even have to have a weapon? Because they can potentially kill you with one punch, can't they?
That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I wish we could get some answers out of it, but I think
once again, we never will. We never will, dude. No, after the John Howard debacle with the gun laws, and the politicians are just piss weak, gutless. They won't change anything. The only thing they are going to be changing is probably be for the worse. No way they'll give us any freedoms.
Yeah,
that's bullshit. So we'll wrap this one up. We've had our big rant on that, and you guys put down in the comments what you think on this. What are your stances for self-defense? And if you're against it, tell us why you're against it. Just don't say, don't want to be like America. Just tell us why and put up a decent argument. I'm open to listen to everything. Tell us why that you are against it and why you don't think it should happen. I think it should happen if people get the correct training. So get down in the comments and tell us what you think. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.